Okay, so let's say there's a debate going on between someone like Richard Dawkins and then some religious nutcake, and they're debating, and one side is saying evolution is a lie, and the other side is saying evolution is the truth, and this Bible stuff is bullshit. The question is, why do we hold the debates? Because audiences are coming to listen to them. Why do audiences come to sit in a theater or in some kind of an auditorium to listen to these people sitting on stage, claiming to be experts of some sort, claiming to be debating? Do people come to debates like this expecting to be given an answer that they didn't know? They're expecting to be given. This debate is supposed to let people who have more or less neutral opinions on the subject come and listen and be given good information that they can then weigh and reach a decision about what really is and isn't true. I mean, that seems to be the pretense that these sort of debates are based on. But what is the reality of why people actually come? How many people actually are going to come to such a debate and sit in the auditorium and listen and then be persuaded to reach a decision or decide on an opinion that they didn't come into that debate already having? How many people walk into a debate about evolution versus creation, or evolution versus the Bible, and walk in thinking, well, I don't have any opinion on this topic, so I'm just here to find out, and so that then I could help me form an opinion. And then they sit there listening quietly back and forth. Oh, this one says that, and this one says that, and that one says the other, and I like his argument, but then he was persuasive too, and and then walk out and say, well, I had no opinion before I came to this meeting, but now I'm starting to form an opinion, and I'm starting to think maybe there is something to evolution. Because I don't think so. I think people come with their opinions pretty well formed. And if anything, the reason they come is just to see if they can be given more ammunition to defend the side that they've already taken on the issue. I think that's to a certain degree a reason why people attend such debates or watch videos of them. And other than that, it's this sport. It's like a sport where it's our team versus their team, our cheerleaders versus your cheerleaders. And I think that's what people come to these as a spectator sport, just as people go to a baseball game, football game, and they go with their caps and their T-shirts saying who their team is, and they're there to cheer on their team, and they need their team to win. And if the other team starts winning, then they need to boo that team. So people go to sports games with a perspective that's already established. A point of view is established, a position is I'm with Team A, or I'm with Team B. Go Team A, Team B sucks. And then there's someone else on another side of the stadium saying Team B rules, Team A are crap. And they come there as spectators, but it's not like they're going to be convinced that, oh, well, the Team A won or Team B won gee, now I've changed my opinion. Although I suppose there are people who do that. They go and they say, oh, I saw Team B won, and my husband dragged me there because he supports Team A. But after I saw Team B win, I started thinking, they're kind of good. Maybe I should be rooting for them in the future. But for the most part, people go to sports games to root for their team, and that's it. And I think that's the same reason. I think these debates are kind of like spectator sports, and people go to root for their team. Oh, Darwin was Antichrist, and the Bible is really true. Yay! And the other side says the Bible is bullshit, and smart people believe in evolution, and oh, he just pwned that guy. So why I bring this up is because people argue. We live in a world full of people arguing. And where does it get us? Where does it get us? Where does anything that we do get us? That's a question. That's a clarity question. Is what are we actually accomplishing? What is any of this getting us? If you're arguing with somebody, what does it ever get you? Why do people argue? I never liked arguing. But there's always a lot of people who seem, it's in their nature to want to argue all the time. Argue, argue, argue. And we always have to prove who's right and who's wrong. And when people have that kind of I have to prove that I'm right all the time attitude, the result is generally that people don't listen. People are spending their whole life trying to justify themselves, justify their positions. And when they can't, they rationalize. But there's this whole defensive nature of the mentality of the type of people that have to spend their lives arguing and that enjoy arguing. And they enjoy irritating other people who never had any intention of arguing in the first place. They enjoy irritating people by dragging them into arguments. People who have no desire to argue, but drag them into the argument anyhow. Make everything into a fucking argument. And I've seen, I guess, too much of that in my life. I think that I was born with no interest in arguing about anything, but I was the youngest member of a family, so-called family, where there were a number of, where most of the members of my family were insecure and felt the need to constantly argue about anything. No matter what happened, there was always an argument to be created around it. And God, it gave me a fucking headache. And I feel the need as an adult to speak out about this, because it does irritate me. And I think it does come from personal insecurities. People who are insecure, they have to constantly be trying to prove themselves, having to validate themselves. And that's what I experienced in my life, that I'm looking back now in a calm moment and seeing pretty clearly how everything in my life, when I tried to discuss with my family, always seemed to turn into a fucking argument. And I'm looking back now, remembering a whole bunch of ideas that I've buried for 3 decades because I forgot I even had them. Because anytime I tried to mention anything of these ideas, say, you know what, I just had this interesting idea. And the response was always, oh, that's no good. That's not a good idea. Oh, that'll never work. Oh, why are you even thinking about that? Why are you even bothering? Why are you wasting your time? Why don't you go get a job? I heard this my whole... I was having fantastic... I mean, things... And I'm seeing these things now. 30 years later, I'm seeing videos of hundreds and thousands of people who have thought of the same ideas and went out and developed them. I think most of them, because most of them weren't surrounded by this kind of constant discouragement that I encountered when I thought of the same ideas. Other people who thought of the same ideas that I thought of when I was 20 maybe mentioned these ideas to their families and got reactions like, hey, wow, that's an interesting idea. Why don't you do something about it? Why don't you work on that? I'd like to help you with that idea, if you'd let me. Sure. And then these people have developed things. So I thought, but when I thought of the idea of having a solar-powered car, the reactions I got were, no, that can't work. Solar-powered, no, can't work. It's not practical. It couldn't possibly. There's no way it could do it. Blah, blah. It never worked. And you hear this constant discouragement your whole life. They know. People know, whether consciously or merely unconsciously, they know that discouragement can kill. Discouragement can destroy. So that's my clarity is starting. It's just even just seeing videos of other people having worked on the same ideas I thought of 30 years ago and had forgotten I even ever thought of. This helps bring back a sense of clarity in my thinking. Oh yeah. To have to spend your whole life, that's the situation I had. I felt I had to validate myself in the eyes of my family, because in their eyes I was nothing, and my thoughts were nothing and worthless. And you end up having to spend your life validating yourself to people who, it turns out, don't give a damn anyhow. If they did give a damn, if they actually cared about you, they wouldn't be constantly discouraging you and telling you that your ideas are worthless. So people who require you to validate yourself are the same people who will never acknowledge validation of you. People who constantly discourage you are people who are determined to invalidate you. And why should we feel the need to validate ourselves in the eyes of people whose only intention is to make us feel worthless? It's like a futility. What is even the point? Why do these people, I guess if they're your family, there's a certain basic reason why you think that your family should value you. And that's unfortunate, because very often we have family members who are never going to acknowledge our validity and our worth. And it becomes an exercise in futility, a pointless exercise, a pointless waste of our life's energy to trying to validate ourselves in the eyes of these people who don't give a damn.